Alright, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody out there in the world. My name is Dead Man's Fury. I'm with 8th Canadian Hussars, and I'll be going over damage types and modules and different vehicles, I guess, that you could shoot. Alright, so, basically, everybody, they start out and such. You get AP, generally it's AP, FS, DS, whatever, but generally it's AP. AP is your armor-piercing rounds. Your armor-piercing rounds are usually shot at your heavies. Some heavier armored lights, and just about anything that you could do damage to will do damage, but you get your max potential out of an AP round if it goes into a heavy or a heavily armored light, like the VFM here. Again, with that, modules help with the accuracy. Let's see what you got. Accuracy normalization will increase the. Where is it? Normalization, like your advanced MRS, it increases the pin on the tank that you're shooting at. So, like normally, if you cannot pierce the target with a general AP round into a heavy fired from a TD, if you increase your normalization, generally you'll pin better, or you'll be able to pin better. But that goes with your accuracy spread. Like VFM Mark V Merc has an accuracy spread of 0.08, which is actually pretty good. You don't really need any more normalization because it's already pretty good. But I mean, you can put it on there and you'd pin a whole lot better. All right, so let's see. All right, SC or heat. Generally, you fire at your lights, APCs, and artillery. You get better damage. Like, say you're shooting a heavy or an APC from a TD, because I'm going to use this as an example as a TD, into the side of a heavy tank. You're shooting AP into the side of an APC, it'll go right through it. It'll usually be an overmatch. You'll do damage, but you won't do the max potential damage. You get your max potential damage on a lightly armored tank by firing heat, or firing the other heat. The high explosive, baby, yeah. But high explosive has a lower pin ratio, but basically meaning the round will impact on the outside and, blow, and you do damage. You'll do a lot of damage, especially if it's a lightly armored tank like an APC, artillery, or most lower armored lights. I don't know if I have any lower armored lights. Or RDFL, there you go. The RDFLT, basically this thing has no armor. Well, I mean, it has armor, but not a lot. I mean, 13 in the front. If you shoot that with an AP round, it's generally going to go right through it. But if you shoot it with a heat round, it'll go into it, blow up, kill parts of the crew, kill modules, do mass damage. You get a lot better damage shooting a lightly armored vehicle with with the right type of armor, heat or high explosive. Basically, when you look at your rounds and you want to equip your tank, the better rounds are best. Most people like to fire heat rounds at just about everything. Like in the T-Series tanks, the heat rounds do so much more damage than the AP rounds. But the problem with the heat rounds doing more damage than the AP rounds is basically you've got to pick your target more effectively. You got to get that little green cursor on the target more precisely to pin it. And if the tank is moving, you have to lead your shot so much that you may or may not pierce with heat that you would normally pierce with AP. And so I mean, you notice the loadout on this tank. I've got some high explosive. You want to keep some high explosive on your tanks that can carry it, because you never know when you're going to go against that tank where you're just shooting them and it's green but it's not going through. So you want to do some damage, especially if it's a low health tank, or if it's on a cap, like if you're playing PvE or PvP. Just to reset that cap, you throw some high explosive at them. it's 9 times out of 10 guaranteed to either destroy a module or do some damage. It's an effective way to reset the cap. And then we've got missiles. Yay, missiles. Missiles are awesome, with the exception that you have to stop to fire it. You have to wait for the rectal to get very tight, fully aimed in for you to be able to fire that missile. So if you're sighted and you're in an area where you could possibly take a lot of, damage, you don't really want to stop the fire. So missiles aren't, necessarily the, some people love it. I really enjoy it, especially if I'm running like the VDL. I think it's a VDL or the Fox. I love my Fox. Yeah, baby. It's like you've got two missiles and a freaking gun, so you can switch between the two, and the missiles do a ton of damage. It's 531, whereas I usually just fire heat out of my Fox because you can pin just about anything with heat. It does a lower damage roll, but it's almost guaranteed damage, whereas AP, 9 times out of 10, you have to be, sighted in where you get the little green dot on the target where you could actually pierce. If you're firing a lot of rounds out of an autocannon, yeah, unless you're going around them and cycling at their backside. Of course, with most of your APCs, you don't want to sit still for too long because they're lightly armored tanks. But they do tons of damage. BDM, baby, yeah, tons of damage. The only bad thing about the BDM, I would say, is that if you're looking straight at them, you only have so much depression on your gun. Whereas the missile, you could poke that sucker over a hill, and you can see the ground in front of you. and the missile on the VDM does pretty good damage. Whereas the gun is decent, the reload's all right. You get 27 rounds. Pardon me. Oh, Lord. And then you have your light tanks. Light tanks are fast mobility. They have really good guns. They do a ton of damage. I know I'm jumping around here. So basically, I covered the different ammunition types. I'm going to go into the general classification of vehicles. Let's start with the light tank. Here we have the Bagel Panzer 57. It is a really good vehicle. It's fast, it's mobile, it's pretty agile, but and it's got a really good gun. You've got 8 rounds in the clip, and I forget how long it takes to reload. Okay, so basically you've got an 8-round salvo size. You fire out about 67 rounds a minute. Granted, I've got a couple of retrofits to increase my reload time, my accuracy, and damage. I more got this mod for the damage than the accuracy, because 9 times out of 10 you're not going to fully wait to re-aim to fire your next shot unless you're in a decent position and the enemy's not looking at you, like in PvE. PvE is a great way to especially get your times 3s. Alright, so basically light tank, low armor. Some of them have decent armor, like the VFM, where you could bounce some good shots. And they've got really good guns, really good reloads. You could do a lot of damage with a light tank, not to mention it's mobile, and usually they get about... pardon me. Ooh, there I go again, pardon me. You get about, oh lord, let's see, you get 3 smoke rounds. The lights, I believe, are the only class so far in the game that you get 3 smoke canisters. The heavies pretty much all get 1, which I don't think makes very much sense, but hey. Alright, so you got your, what is this? your BDM, which is another APC. Alright, so I went for lights and then we'll go through APCs. APCs are generally very fast. Most of them come with rockets. A lot of them come with autoloaders. Did you know that there is not an autoloader tier 4? I know, I've tried. I owned all of them at one point, but there is not an autoloader for tier 4. I think the fastest loading one is the Lav 300. Granted, your spotting range sucks. Your camo volume's pretty much null, but well, it used to be. It might have changed. But anyway, I think I've got like a 3.5 second reload on this tank, and it does tons of damage. Let's see. Yep, 5,600 damage. Gotta love it. All right, but that's a TD. We'll get into that in a minute. See, I'm just all over the place here. All right, so BDM APCs. Yeah, they're fast. They're mobile. Um, I think you have 3 smoke charges. I can't remember. Let's see. Nope, no smoke. Yep, it's pretty much shoot and go and run and hide vehicle there. Same thing with the Fox. The Fox is awesome. You jump around. It's high mobility. You can spin the sucker on a dime. You've got a great gun. One of the biggest things I could say about APCs is the fact, or is it APC? I think that's what it is. Yeah, APC is that you've got a great view range. Most APCs have a great vision range, whereas you can see the targets before they see you. My Fox is at 507 meters. That's pretty good, I guess. Uh, Enhanced Sight Interface Mark III, which is great to have on most APCs. It gives you the vision range and a penalty reduction, which reduces the component penalties, which is nice to have. And yeah, so let's look at the component real quick. But this is what I run on my Fox. Basically, yeah, I mean, the modules are great to have, but you have to run the specific lines to get the different levels of the modules. And every time you upgrade a tank to 50% or more, you get a chance to unlock the modules, and then level them as such. I need to go up in my T series so I can get my damage up some more. But I went up the Weasel line, so yeah, that's nice to have. All right, we'll go back into the modules in a second. Let's see. TDs. All right, so here we have a Xylo Merc edition. Gotta love the Merc. But it's great. Okay, so TDs. Basically, TDs are mobile, or usually very mobile tanks. Their sight range is pretty good. Their camo value is usually pretty good, and their rate of fire is awesome. Most TDs have a pretty good rate of fire. I have up to the Centurion 120, and its reload is about 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds, and its AP does about 600. With the mods, I can put out between 750 and 800 per round. Every 4 seconds, I can make about 800 damage. And, heat will give me anywhere between 8 to 900 damage on a good roll. Of course, high explosive, generally 450 to 500, depending on what you're shooting at. And that goes into the type of gun, the type of ammunition, the type of tank you're firing at, and whether or not that tank is sitting still or not, or whether or not your rectal in the middle of your screen, your aiming target is tight. You get when it's tight, you get better accuracy. When it's big, yeah, it's give or take whether or not it may or may not go at the target or way to the right or way to the left. It's like playing golf and, just not even concentrating, just, yeah, I play golf. Okay, so TD, great damage, general decent stats, great reload, great damage. It's a TD, it's a tank destroyer. It's meant to kill tanks, but it's not really meant to survive. Its armor is pretty much null. When them pop and goes or hide and fire, that would be your camper tank. APCs are mainly your spotters, your scouts, your high mobility. They do tons of damage, but you always want to keep on the move with these tanks. You don't really want to sit there and brawl. And then your lights are generally your spotters. They can take a little bit of damage. They can deal a ton of damage. Like if you get up to, what is it, the XM8, or the Thunderbolt, that sucker does tons of damage, and it can take a hit. So it's a light tank. It's great mobility. Yeah. All right. So heavies. I love me some heavies. It's like that time where you want to get in there and brawl and beat somebody up and not take a lot of damage, but you got to remember that always face the front end of your tank at the enemy. If I can't stress anything enough about heavies, you always want to face the front end of your tank because the front has the most armor. Or you can go hold down and, whichever direction you want to face, because the back end of your tank has pretty much crappy armor. Well, I mean, 186 on the top and 124 on the bottom, but 676 freaking turret armor in the front. I mean, damn. I pardon if I cuss. I'm a Marine. Gonna say I try and tone it down for these videos, but you know. Anyway, all right. So the armor on most of your heavies, especially in the front, is awesome. Granted, the turret ring is very well penetrable. The commander's cupola is a great place to aim, but you won't get a lot of damage. You get almost 100. I think what is it like 75, 80% damage roll if you shoot them in the turret ring. Of course, the challengers have that stipulation where their gas tanks are like up in the front on the sides of the tank on the inside, which is crazy. If you can shoot and penetrate around where the headlights are, you'll 9 times out of 10 set them on fire. If you ask me, I think that's stupid. But you can't make them completely impenetrable. Like the Abrams, most of them, their turret ring, just like the T-Series tanks, their turret ring is very well exposed. If you can get up and close and personal with them, 9 times out of 10 you will penetrate and kill them by shooting them in the turret ring. And the commander's cupola on most tanks is very well seen, and it won't do a lot of damage, but it does some damage. Of course, old thing was, shoot them in the lower plate. Well, I tell you, that doesn't usually work. At least on the American line and the Challengers, that usually doesn't work very well. But on the T-Series, if you can shoot them in the bottom right down in here, it'll 9 times out of 10 pin. Of course, you can always track them and piss them off. I tell you what, when I get constantly tracked in a heavy, that pisses me off. It's like, dang it, I'm tracked again. Oh, my tracks are up, I can move. I'm tracked again. All right, so let's see. I covered the TDs, I covered the APCs, I covered the lights, I covered the heavies. Artillery, generally, artilleries fire high explosive, smoke, and then they have illumination rounds. Basically, your illumination rounds, they show you where you are on the map. Smoke rounds will give you concealment, and it also drops the targets that you might have sighted in, which could be hindering to your teammates. It's basically, you can save your team, and you can also piss your team off. And then you've got your damage dealing, your high explosive rounds, which I think they beefed up the outside damage stuff, or the outside health components of most of the tanks, or they will be doing that, so that artillery won't be able to one-shot and kill all your modules at one round. But, woohoo! Alright, so I covered basically all the tank lines. I covered the ammunition types. I'm going to go over the modules right fast. I don't really like making real long videos, but, it's information and it's good to know. So basically, armor. Alright, so you've got improved spall lining. Basically, it gives your crew, more saves towards damage, and it gives you whole hit points. And you got your reinforced internal hull reinforcement, which just beefs up the hit points of your tank, which is always a great thing to have. Then you got your reinforced ammo rack and your reinforced engine housing. And what the ammo rack and the engine housing does is, if you've ever had your ammunition blown up or your engine critically disabled in the middle of a match, these probably wouldn't be bad things to have. Firepower. Alright, so your chrome barrel lining. Basically, it's damage and minimum accuracy. Basically, when the circle that you're aiming target is the biggest, what that does is it decreases that big roundness. So it would, I guess, take less time to fully aim. So, or if you're shooting on the move, you're going to have a big circle. It makes that circle not so big, so you have a little bit better accuracy when moving. And it does a lot more damage. Magnetic actuator, damage, and aim time. That's, experimental propellant. Damage. Advanced MRS. Normalization, which I covered at the beginning of this instructional video. Enhanced shell materials, basically reload time and moving accuracy. Hey, who could need more moving accuracy, especially when you're an APC? Gyroscopic stabilizers. Reload time and aim time. Usually you put that on an arty. You put this one and the magnetic actuator on an artillery, which increases your aim time and damage / reload.
Advanced thermal sleeve, great thing to have on just about any tank you could possibly put it on. It increases your reload time, or it decreases your reload time by a lot, which is because the faster you can fling rounds, the more damage you can deal. Augmented breach block, reloading time and minimum accuracy, which again is the largest accuracy round circle thing. All right, so mobility. You got general mobility thingies here, which increase your vehicle's acceleration, your whole traverse speed, and your turret rotation. And all of those do different forms of those three. And all can be used in just about anything, especially your heavies. Especially if you're being circled by an APC, you want to move that turret ring a little faster. So you can spin around and shoot the little sucker. And then your technology. Your braided Kevlar is basically your crew skills. It increases your crew effectiveness in battle, and it also protects them against heat rounds. Security control package, which allows you to cap faster. Augmented optics increases your view range. Enhanced sight interface, great for APCs and light tanks. Increases your view range and your penalty reduction, as covered earlier in the video. And then your intercom systems, which increases your crew skills. Alright, so that's basically all the modules. I covered the modules, I covered the ammunition types, and I covered the different classifications of vehicles. Alright, so what may you say? I think I did that already. I covered what rounds will better pierce which critter. So, PvE, PvP. Basically, PvP is a bunch of people, real people, running around, thinking for themselves, and firing at you. PvE is a bunch of robots, which are oh Lord, what is it? Artificial intelligence. ATI. Basically, they're running around and they're shooting you, and they're actually freaking hard to kill, especially in the hard modes. Alright, so I'm going to use what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to take my Century 121 out, and I'm going to do some PvE, because I haven't done my PvE yet. At least on this one, or my others. Usually hard mode is pretty easy to get into, especially in this day and age. Freaking early access 2, or we didn't have these tiers. Early access 3, early access 4, 5. I was in 2, 3, 4, and 5. Basically, I'm going to cut these parts out. Alright, here we go. Little lag at the beginning. So direwolf. Usually straightforward, run around, kill things. Usually you want to be in the back. But, gung ho, man, gung ho. Especially the fact that I do 600 to 700 damage a shot. Like I said, 6-second reload. Hey, that's not too bad, I guess. Yep. Don't let your teammate run into you. Oh shit. Oh shit. Yep, gonna die. For the record, TD is not a frontline battle tank. And for that reason, I'm giving the enemies a wide berth. Or not. I know I said before, usually you want to keep your front facing the enemy. But in this case, where I'm almost dead, I'm just going to face my side to him. Really. There we go. Alright, so this has been Dead Man's Fury. I'm a member of 8th Canadian Hussars, and I hope you enjoyed my little informative video this evening. The battle didn't end well. I kind of over pushed myself, I guess. I overextended myself. Yes, TD is not a brawling tank. Alright, so hope you found this informative, and good luck in the future. Thank you for coming out. Have a great day.